Ladies and gentlemen, Tactical Advance here. And today we're going to be talking about Anvil, and also we're going to be covering off the Carrack as well. Now, to get a better understanding of the origin of Anvil and the design of the Carrack, firstly we need to go back to a company called Case Aerospace. Case Aerospace was a human space manufacturer founded in 2599 by the lead engineer Leonard Case. Leonard Case created ships with curvy lines, very similar to what we know today as the Anvil ships. After his death, the company was bought by a holding firm. In 2072, a man called J. Harris Arnold created a company called Anvil Aerospace. The initial Anvil skunkwork facility was located in Nova on Terra, and the company's headquarters are still there today. For the first time in 70-odd years of Anvil's existence, every design project was personally led by the company founder, J. Harris Arnold. Arnold, an enthusiast space engineer and designer, traditionally very old school, signed off every part of the design phase, from subsystems to completion. A small bit of history on J. Harris Arnold. When J. Harris Arnold was at school, he was obsessed with the work of Leonard Case. To him, the most forgotten engineer and designer representative of all time. He loved everything about the ship design. When he eventually started designing his ships, Arnold drew heavily inspired from Case's business model and ships for his own designs, utilizing such signature elements as the curvy wings and open circular signets. The similarity was such that Arnold and Anvil was sued by the holding firm who had bought the rights of Case's design. Arnold decided to settle the case by purchasing all Case Aerospace portfolios for himself. So basically now J. Harris Arnold owns all rights to the aerospace manufacturer and designs. J. Harris bought the rights for that business so he could actually use the inspiration to keep the legacy of Leonard Case in memory. So what do Anvil Aerospace actually do? Anvil has been reliably delivering military-grade equipment to the UAE Navy for almost 2 centuries. The company's moniker comes from a quote in Robert Calvin's famous Early Justification, explaining about military spending. The company has produced dozens of successful and iconic military spacecrafts over the years, including the Hurricane, Osprey, the Devastator, Hornet, and the Gladiator. No military campaign in the last 2 centuries have been launched without Anvil spacecraft in the forefront, and no carrier in the UAE space today operates without at least one squadron of Anvil-designed fighters. In fact, Anvil designs have scored more space-to-space kills than any other military spacecraft. Hornets in particular have destroyed more enemy hardware, measured in star credits, than all other space Navy fighters put together. So I know what you're thinking at the moment. Where's this going? Where does the Carrack come into this? Well, something that is new to Anvil, and that is the Anvil civilian line, a decision that many at the company initially resisted to. This created great tension in the business. The company generally feels like it was producing civilian-grade versions of dedicated military spacecraft would dull the brand. The concern was that Anvil would lose its top position as the main UAE fighter. Debates over this topic became so prominent that it threatened to split the company into 2 separate groups, with the civilian wing formally licensing the military designs. The second thing that Anvil were concerned about was actually giving military weapons to civilians. So as the debate progressed over the period of time, the UAE government stepped in, and surprisingly, they had a resolution. They actually favoured the concept of supplying military-style weapons to civilians, especially at the distant frontiers. A home defence military squadron of slightly less fire-powered Hornets would make a more powerful squadron than a squadron of cutlasses. The process of creating civilian ships is more complex than it seems. The UAE military secrecy law means that, on average, 60% of the hardware on their spacecrafts cannot be offered to the public. One, for example, would be the mil-spec Gatling guns. A way around this was removing the components that the military didn't want the civilians to have, or components that were under the Secrecy Act. Now, moving on to the Carrack, we'll cover a little bit on the Star Citizen side and then talk about the ship. The Carrack was a promised feature of 33 million stretch goal on the crowdfunding campaign. The concept of the ship was designed by Gurmit Bashin. He was a concept artist at Aerospace. It was also the first Anvil large ship that went into development. The ship is being developed at Squadron 42 UK. Some basic stats of the ship. The size classing is large. The focus is exploration. The production state, it will be due in 3.8 of this year. The minimum crew is 4. The max crew is 6. The cargo capacity was 1,000 SCU. The price in dollars when it actually came out originally was $400. The null cargo mass is 4.3 million. The length is 125. The beam is 64 and the height is 62. The Anvil Carrack is a multi-crew explorer that specializes in exploration and pathfinding. It is built as a single, self-sustainable ship that can take long-duration voyages through the rough terrains areas of space. The Carrack is capable of doing multiple jumps to different jump points, dealing with extreme conditions in space and getting back home. Since its time in the military, it's been the vanguard of the UAE exploration effort in recent years. Combined with the high tensile high armor, the Carrack is one of the safest exploration ships in the galaxy. The Carrack is now declassified and it's available for civilian use. Accommodation allows for truly self-sufficient flight, including crew, medical repair facilities, and mapping and orientation center suite, and chart plotting as well. The ship features reinforced fuel tankers for long-duration flight, and a dedicated computer core room that allows it to put the maximum processing power into jump charting operations. The Carrack also comes with a scouting craft. It's a Pisces-class scout ship that is able to launch from the ship's hangar. It also has an Ursa rover and unmanned exploration drones. One of the biggest advantages of the Carrack is the front canopy. It's a beautiful single-panel, multi-story cockpit window that offers an unimpeded view. Alongside this, it also has a titanium reinforced blast cover. This can also aid for flying through asteroid belts. On the bridge, one of the key features that it definitely has is it has control surfaces for extremely sensitive scanning, mapping, charting sensor suite, and multi-crew stations there as well. One of the features of the ship, it does have 3 detachable pods that fit underneath the ship. These can be swapped out for things like science bays and so on. I'm sure we'll get more information on this later on down the line of what other pods we can put on there. As you can imagine, because it is a ship designed for not just mapping jump ports but also deep space exploration, it does come with quite a few antennas. It has an antenna at the front of the ship and also extendable arms at the sides that attract. The arms that extend from this side are the jump plotting antenna arms. The antenna arms are to map jump ports, or wormholes as they're known. So the jump port is basically the gate itself, and if you've seen Stargate, it's like a big gate in space. The wormhole is between the jump port and space. Now in Star Citizen there will be sized jump ports that you can currently see on the star map, but there also will be ones that just appear that you can actually go and map and use as well. These will not exist forever, they will disappear over the period of time. This is quite an interesting fact. RSI did a poll to find out what actually people wanted to do in the game. 67% voted for exploration. That does seem like a massive amount, doesn't it? So here's a couple of other things you could also be doing inside of your Carrack. When you fly through space, part of space is actually mapped, assuming the data comes from previous explorers or the UAE. There will be uncharted areas where you can basically fly. You could find an asteroid belt with maybe some really valuable materials. You could then map that area and you will visually be able to see that now on your physical computer on the screen. Once you've got the data, you can do a few things. You could give it to your friends or organization, or even sell it back to the UAE. So to give you a bit of an idea on a comparison between data that's already in your computer compared to that's not, there is about 70% of unexplored space. That's across all the systems, whether it's going to be 110 systems or 100. You could also find alien wreck, derelict ships, all sorts of anomalies along the way. We can also expect to see lots of other things as well, from other planets, moons, rocks, life forms, etc. And one of the really cool things is some of these locations that you find, you will be able to actually physically name them as well. So overall, I hope that gives you a really good insight into Anvil and the Carrack, and some of the things you can use the Carrack for as well. I'm sure RSI are going to keep some things back and surprise us with some of the exploration things we might find in space. I really hope they do, because a part of this journey, we want it to be a surprise. We don't really want to know everything. Exploration is fun when you don't know what you're going to find. So I hope you've enjoyed the video today. If you want to support me, give us a like or a dislike. Failing that, don't forget to hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye now.